authors of the article doubtless assume the strictly historical character of the account of the fall in Genesis. This assumption is now, in my belief, no longer reasonable. All right? They don't believe in all of this thing. Westcott and Hort also believe that the fall of Adam and Eve liberated us. They believe it was a thing that liberated us from the snares and things that God had held over man. They upheld Darwin's Origin of Species. They were part of the Ghostly Guild, which is also a society that studies, these supernatural things. You skip through all of this here. Here's some of the, if you went and you did a study on Westcott and Hort, they were part of the Hermes Club, the Ghostly Guild. They were part of the Society for Physical Research. And the Society for Physical Research was began by Madame Anton Blavatsky, who was a high spiritualist of her day. And they were a part of that. Was also a part of the Apostles Club, Hort was, and Erasmus Club. Westcott and Hort both were. And these are satanic clubs. But these are the ones who wrote your NIV. These are the ones who wrote the New Bible versions. Okay? Skip through some of these points. Are you guys getting the picture here? You guys getting the picture? This isn't just some plain changes. This is some pretty heavy stuff. And I am blowing through a lot of these things. And I cut out a lot. This can be a 6-hour presentation. So I just kind of threw some slides together to try to give you an understanding. The King James. All the manuscripts that have New Version Bible. Let's look at them and compare. They have 81, and some say about 88, papyrus, things that were written on papyrus paper. All right? 13 of them support the Westcott and Hort. Westcott and Hort will be on the left. 75 support the Texas Receptus. That's 85% versus 15%. Okay? The Unicals, which are these big books, are 267 in our possession today. 258 support the King James. 9 support the Westcott and Hort text. That's 97% versus 3%. Now you might be kind of wondering, why is there some that support and some that don't? Well, you have two texts that the new versions of the Bible are written on. And that's the Vaticanus and the Sinaiticus. The Vaticanus and the Sinaiticus, the Vaticanus, very clear, comes from the Vatican. You can see that. But they found these in the trash. The monks were going to burn them because there were so many errors in it. But they took them out of the trash and used them as the basis for all the other Bible versions. Okay, so these were things that were in the trash. So these little percentages. Cursives, they have 2,764. Only 1% of those are for the Westcott and Hort, 99 for King James. Lectionaries is the same. 100% support King James, 0 Westcott and Hort text. That's 99% total support the King James. Only 1% support the new versions of the Bible. Now, if we're in a court of law, and I give you 99% proof that this man is innocent, I come with 99 pieces of evidence that prove that this man is innocent, and you have one that might or might not be true. By the preponderance of evidence, where do you go? On the side of the one with more evidence. King James is supported. Blow through some of these. Here's the translators of the NIV committee. I don't expect you to read through all of that there. But I want to point out one who's a very interesting character. Okay? This is Virginia Mollenkott. Now, if I probably didn't put a name on there, you wouldn't know if it was a man or a woman. Okay? Now, Virginia Mollenkott was very high up in the NIV study committee, and she helped write this. But she also wrote a book called Sensuous Spirituality. And NIV's Dr. Virginia Mollenkott jabs and says, "My lesbianism has always been a part of me." And that's the Episcopal Witness, June 1991. And her pro-homosexual book, Is the Homosexual My Neighbor?, echoes the NIV's assertion that the Bible censures only criminal offenses like prostitution and violent gang rape, but not the sincere homosexuals drawn to someone of the same sex. You were born that way, God understands. No, the Bible doesn't go that route. All right, but she wrote this book, and this is the one who took out the fornication and put immorality, took out sodomites and put nothing. She's the one that removed all of these different things in regards to that. Why? Because it supports her lifestyle. Okay? King James uses the term effeminate, and effeminate is any homosexual. And in the new versions, it's male prostitutes or homosexual offenders. So not the good homosexuals, just the bad ones. All right? Sodomites, it uses shrine prostitutes. You see how it supports the criminal offenses, but not the genuine lifestyle, they say. Okay? There was another man who was also on that. You probably can't see this too well, but another man that was also a part of the NIV study committee is Carlo Martini, who is a cardinal, Roman Catholic cardinal. And he was very much involved in all the changes of the NIV. Now, Carlo Martini, if we can get this far I'm going to run to it real quick. Blow past this. That's the history, by the way, that tells you that the King James came from Antioch. Remember where the apostles went? The book of Acts, they went to Antioch, and it became basically the new headquarters of Christianity. The King James, you can trace in history, comes all the way from Antioch. The NIV and all the other Bible versions come from Alexandria, which is in Egypt. And in Alexandria, many different terrible things happened, but you can trace it down. Let me blow through here. This is just saying how new discoveries that support the King James all of a sudden come out, but then they mysteriously disappear. And why that has to be that way, it's the devil doesn't want us to understand these things. There's a part in here I'm looking for. Everybody always talks about the Dead Sea Scrolls, yeah? The Dead Sea Scrolls do not promote and substantiate the King James. When the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, they were immediately went to the Vatican. And they were there in the hands of the Vatican for a number of years before they let them out to the public. And there's a lot of evidence that they doctored up and changed what was really in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So anybody that tries to say the Dead Sea Scrolls prove these are... Carlo Martini. Here it is, here. Dr. Allegro was invited to help. We'll go back here. The bottom bullet says, so the NIV and New King James are shaking on thin ice when they alter the traditional text and follow the readings of the Dead Sea Scrolls. When complaints were voiced that the scrolls were being dishonestly handled, and when it was discovered that Father DeVaux, the director of the project, was an alcoholic, Dr. Allegro was invited in to help. However, being an agnostic, he had his own corrupt agenda. He went on to write the book, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, which alleges that Jesus Christ never existed or was a construct of imaginations of a psilocybin mushroom cult. He even wrote that the Catholics threatened him with dire consequences if he would not accede to their agenda. Now, this man didn't believe in Christ at all, but was used to write the new versions of the Bible. But the Catholics, under Carlo Martini, put pressure upon him to go along with their agenda. What was their agenda? This agenda includes the deification of man, making man God. According to Cardinal Carlo Maria Martini, he is the only working member left in the Greek text committee, which underlies the new NIV and almost all of the versions. He wrote in his book, In the Thick of His Ministry, that man could be divine, on page 42. This is not new for Roman Catholics. They often quote Erasmus in saying, God became man that man might become gods. In a recent newspaper, the Western Catholic Reporter, September 7, 1997, on page 16, they say the church teaches that the priest is not simply an ordained man, but rather in celebrating the sacraments is Jesus Christ himself. And so in the NIV and the new versions of the Bible, you have these sentiments that deify man. The Pope can take out his NIV and prove why he says he's Jesus. And that's the agenda behind Carlo Martini being there. Let's blow past this. Now this, I don't know if you can read it, but I'll tell you the story for time. On the John Ankerberg show, has anybody ever heard of John Ankerberg? Well, in the States, he's a big, religious reporter. And on his show, he had a couple guys that would support the King James and a couple that supported the NIV and all the other Bible versions. Now, he had about 3 that supported the King James and about maybe 9 that supported NIV. Okay, and each were given a slot. And totaling, I have the totals here, it doesn't really mean anything. Those who supported the King James were given probably 15 minutes out of an hour and a half to support the King James. All the rest, they went to the NIV. But there was something interesting that happened